So we're here today, French Press Friday with Brad Mariska. Brad, I've got my cup of coffee. I don't know about you, but
I've got a bubbly here. Uh, I've had a couple of coffees already today, so I'm done with coffee for the day.
I'm going to make you the person that I confess to. I don't always have French Press Friday on French Press Friday. Today is a pour over.
That's embarrassing. This whole thing is you've built your reputation on a throne of lies.
Yeah, well, but that's why I'm coming out now instead of being found out later. You know, that's way worse if they find out later. So.
Well, and we eventually would. I would demand a recount, and we'd figure it out eventually.
All right, so I was thinking about this like about an hour ago. I was like, how did I meet you? And I don't have like a real good recollection of like the first time we met.
Yep.
You?
I don't. I'm trying to remember. Like, I feel like I've known you for a long time, but I don't know when it was like the first time that we ever actually met, because I feel like we were Facebook friends before we ever met, and it literally might have just been, I remember I met you, I remember meeting you face to face 3 or 4 years ago at like the state girls hockey tournament. And that actually might have been the first time, and that might be why I remember it, because I was like, I never actually met this guy yet. Yeah. So that might be it.
Well, I know there are a few times where like when we were in the room together, you know, at MMEA, NBDA, whatever thing. And I was always attracted to your energy, because you have a good sense of like what we're doing is serious. Like we're in a serious business here, but we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun while we do it.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that attitude. So thank you for bringing that to everything you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And you do a lot, Brad.
Yeah.
Brad.
Well, I have sort of an addictive personality. So when I put myself into something, I just like do it. I'm a workaholic. I am obsessed with whatever it is that I'm into. So I throw all of my time and energy into whether it's doing the high school band thing, or whether it's like my role as band VP for MMEA, or doing the podcast. And I mean, I sense that same sort of like energy from you too. It's probably why we've become good colleagues and friends, because like we see that in each other.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do have that about my personality too. One thing that I struggle with is organization. It's definitely not like a strong suit of mine. I feel like you are a pretty organized person, or do you struggle with it too?
I'm organized like in big picture stuff. Like I'm really good at planning things out and keeping my documents organized like on my computer. But if you walked into my office, it's just a big hot mess. Like the here and now is just a jumble. And I'm leaving things lay around all over the place. So I've got like that creative energy, but I do have the ability to goal set and follow through on the steps it takes to reach those goals. So I think my insights into like big picture organization is a little bit different than the here and now, where my instruments and sheet music are everywhere all the time.
Yeah. I wish that I'm talking to the wrong guy then, because I wanted you to tell me like, no, this is what you need to do to organize on the little stuff. Because I'm the same way. Big picture stuff I'm really good at. I mean, I don't struggle day to day, but like sometimes like, where did I put that folder?
My colleague Erin Holmes, and I'm actually at her house right now because we're working. It's a flexible learning day, and there's days she'll walk into my office. She's like, "You're not teaching any lessons this hour. You're just going to clean your office."
In rehearsal, like this is not an all too unfamiliar thing. I'll be like, "All right, everyone, stop! I need all your eyes. Where's my baton?"
Yeah, I do this all the time. I was like, "Has anybody seen my iPad? Does anybody know where my trumpet is? I don't know. I can't find my phone."
It's like some trumpet player in the back is like, "You left it over here."
Literally this morning in rehearsal, I was like, "You guys, like, I don't know where my baton is," and everyone was like, "Mariska, it's in your jacket pocket." It was literally like I couldn't see it, but it was like sticking out of my jacket pocket. They're like, "Yeah, you have it on you." I'm like, "Thank you."
Oh yeah. So you said, I'm curious about your situation then. Like, what is your teaching situation?
So we're on a hybrid model. We have a cohort of kids who come to school on Mondays and Tuesdays, and a cohort of kids who come on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then Friday is a distance learning day for everyone. But we have a bunch of our ensembles coming in on Fridays for rehearsals. Two of our jazz ensembles and our top concert group, our wind ensemble. So they get to come to school on that flex day. And our students, other than that, only have rehearsal once a week because even though they're in school for 2 days, we're running like these long blocks. So they have half their classes one day and half their classes the other day. So students in Farmington only go to each of their classes physically once a week. So we only get to rehearse our ensembles once a week, which is so different than in the past where all of our bands rehearsed every single day.
Yeah. How have you adjusted to that with your like music and your expectations?
We've lowered them. But you know, it's amazing what you can do with the right amount of planning. First of all, our class periods now are all 90 to 92 minutes long. You can do a lot in that time period, but of course you can't rehearse in the same room for that long. So we're really lucky. We have lots of rooms. We can have breakout sessions in the middle of the period to do sectionals, and we've introduced academic tracks. So kids are studying music production, music theory, music history, in addition to playing their instrument. And we're a couple, months into the school year, and all of the kids in each of the ensembles have had several playing tests where they have to, on their days off, they have to, record themselves doing something at home. But that's always a tough sell. So yeah. I'm not gonna pretend like it's super successful or we like doing it. We're just trying to help keep them a little bit accountable, at least for some of the basics. Like we're spending less time doing warm-ups in school and be like, all right, y'all have to like go home and record your chromatic scale and send it to me in a video because we're not going to practice it at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of music are you able to do? Are you doing flex ensembles or are you able to do just standard traditional ensemble stuff?
It depends on our groups. Like our 9th grade bands, they started out just doing flex music, but now they've started they all have at least one piece that is using traditional instrumentation. Our intermediate groups, like our concert band and our symphonic band, they have one or two of each. And then our top concert group is just using traditional, not flex. And our jazz ensembles are all using traditional big band because you can at least rehearse a full jazz. So we have 4 jazz bands because jazz is curricular in Farmington. So we basically just run a different group each day, and they just rehearse once a week. But there's enough kids and we have the right instrumentation that we can do regular big band charts with them.
Yeah, jazz band has been a great thing for us too, because it's been like we can have a jazz band that's a jazz band and we can do jazz charts and
Exactly.
So back to the flex stuff, I'm just kind of curious, do you have anything that you've felt was really good, like in particular?
I really like one of my ensembles is doing Earth Dawn by Randall Standridge, and it just works really well, and he figured out pretty quickly how to write flex effectively. Flex is not only new to us as directors, at least for me. I never had like a really tiny band or a really weird instrumentation at the schools that I've taught at, so I never had to use flex arrangements. But a lot of composers are also just learning how to do it, so like there's a learning curve there. So it's like, because sometimes you'll be going along and all of a sudden it's like, oh, whoa, that trumpet can't play part 1 because technically we need someone else playing the melody, but that really can only be done by a flute,
Yeah.
So that's always tricky. We have kids switching in the middle. They're like, okay, I'll play part 1 up until this measure, and then I'm going to switch to part 2. And it was like, so we just go with it. And so like in that respect, I actually think I almost prefer just taking one grade level easier of music and using traditional instrumentation, even if you have parts missing. Because, a good composer knows that like this musical line is supposed to be played by a saxophone and this musical line should be done by a trombone. And when you start interchanging them, yeah, you can still have a good musical experience, but it's not the same, especially when your kids know better. If they've been playing really good literature in the past, they can sense that this other stuff maybe isn't quite there yet.
Yeah. We're doing Earth Song with one of my groups by Tekeli.
Yeah.
And that's one that's really like, I like it. I mean, I like what we've fallen in for instrumentation, but I totally agree with like, even the kids that have like had the experience before, they're like, it's good, but they're like, it's weird. It's like, yeah, it is weird.
No, like you said, it's like, and that's that's a compliment to you as a teacher, and it's a compliment to your students. Like, if your kids can sense that like it functions differently and is different than what they've done in the past, then you've done a good job of like helping them to understand how like certain things are idiomatic to certain instruments. Like what you do on a clarinet is different than even what you do on a flute, and the part that you write for a flute and a clarinet is very different. Now, I will say Tekeli, now we're not doing any Tekeli pieces, but he was one of the first composers to really figure out, I was listening to That Band Life podcast yesterday, and they were also raving about how great the Tekeli Flex transcriptions are, because he's just such a craftsman and he understands how music works and how every instrument works. And they said, if you're looking for really good flex ones, start with Tekeli. So good choice.
Yeah. Well, and I bought a few others, and because I just had my gut just led me there with him. I just had a really good feeling about what he was going to be doing. So, so let's talk a little bit like what's been difficult either this week or just in general with what we've been dealing with. What struggles have you really encountered?
Well, the biggest one, like I alluded to, is the fact that we only see our kids once a week, and when we see them, they're behind a mask. And our district, like most others, rightfully so, keeps talking about connection over content. You got to get to know the students and gain their trust, and that's something that we as band directors know and have always known, and we get to know kids over the course of multiple years. But I'm finding it really difficult. Like our ninth graders, we see them once a week. They're new to us, and like there's still a few where I'm like messing up names, and we're 2 months into the school year because I only see them once a week, and they're behind a mask, and like that's hard, and I feel bad about that. I wish there was a better solution. And the other side of it is that with the numbers going the way they are here in Minnesota and in our county, is we're probably going to be going back to full-on distance learning after Thanksgiving. And that was really hard last spring, figuring out how to teach band through full-on distance learning. And there's been a lot of people who've been doing it all fall again. And I don't look forward to that. So that's something I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like we're doing okay. We'll be in our tier 2 for a little bit, but I know it'll be a matter of time. And I want to make sure that I'm able to make it really as valuable as it can possibly be for the students.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really tried to highlight in the last few weeks about the significant role that music can play in our lives and what it can do in times like this, like in times that we're in. And so now I'll have to flip my brain on like, okay, how do we do that when you guys aren't here?
I know. And I really like what you said about like, we're just trying to really make it fun for kids right now. One of my groups they played Thriller and Phantom of the Opera. And normally I wouldn't program that type of music with our concert ensembles. Like we're pretty traditional and classical in our programming. And I've got another group working on Aladdin right now. And I don't second guess or feel guilty about that even for a second. Like we got to just do some music that gets kids like excited about like playing their instruments.
Yeah. And here's another thing. I came up with a playlist on my computer that's all just like Sweet Caroline and Hooked on a Feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing's playing every time they come into the room. And the 2 times that it hasn't been, I've had kids like come up to me and be like, this is one of the best parts of the day when I walk in the room and I
That's
feel good about
awesome.
yeah. And so I think that, we're going to get back to a day where we get to do the technical stuff and all that. But I think really focusing on what we can provide for our students is important. So let's go switch the gears a little bit. I'm curious, like, can you give us like something that you have really struck on, or maybe just something that you regularly use that works really well with kids? Do you have any tricks for us?
Not any tricks, but we are definitely trying to find creative ways. Like we've discovered that both students and their families, like they want to see and hear their kids performing. So we did some live streams last week. We've got some more coming in the next couple of weeks, and we're just being really honest about this is where the students are at. This isn't a formal concert, but kids want others to see and hear what they're doing. They want to know that it's like there's a purpose or there's an end result. And the community and parents, they just want to know what's going on, and they want to hear the music that we're doing. And we're generally in a normal year so connected with the community that we're out there. So like we sent the drum line downtown to City Hall this week to play for people who are standing in line to vote. And we've got this sort of jazz band concert that's going to be coming up online. And we started our own Farmington High School band TikTok account channel this past week, and we're just trying to find ways to highlight kids doing stuff and be creative and have fun, whether it's through concerts or social media or whatever. We don't have a magic bullet, but we're trying to think of the things that we know that kids love in the past and their families have loved in the past, and try to maintain those traditions.
Well, I keep up with you guys on social media, and I do appreciate everything you do. You're in your community a lot playing. I really respect that and it's hard right now. I think to do that. It's twice
Yeah.
as hard as it was before.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of getting there. We just recorded something for Veterans Day program for next week, and in that process, I have the kids in the room. It's the first time we'd ever been in the room, really everybody together. And so I was like, let's just play stuff that's in our folder. And it was a special moment. We got a decent recording of Earth Song that I'm
Yep.
probably going to share with the community. It wouldn't be our typical final product, but
Right.
like you said, I think that people just the students want to share it and the parents want to hear it.
Yep.
I've had so many parents come to me and say, I did not realize until now how much I appreciated the concerts, that they really miss going to concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't usually hear that. See, a lot of times you hear like, "Oh man, that concert was an hour and a half."
I know it was too long. It was like, man, yep. But they do. They miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything you're looking forward to in the next week? Anything coming up for the Farmington band?
Well, we will be. I will be editing and then releasing our ninth grade ensembles. We did recordings of them playing their pieces in rehearsal this past week. So I'll be editing that this week and releasing it probably next weekend. And then the week after that, we're going to be recording our jazz bands this coming week, and then I'll release. So yeah, lots. I feel like I'm in concert season, and our wind ensemble had a rehearsal or a recording session this morning. So I feel like we've at least the music that we've been working on for the past couple months is going to get committed to some sort of recording medium, whether it's a live stream or whether we're making an edited video. I'm not going to do anything quite as fancy as one-man band videos where I do the virtual national anthem, which was phenomenal, by the way. But yeah, that's what I'm most excited about.
That's great. That's great. You would totally be awesome at doing one of those videos. I'm waiting to see it someday.
No, you know what? Like if you hadn't done it first, then I would. But you do it and you do it well, so I'm going to let you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do have a few more that I've got ideas for, so we'll see. I just got to find time to do them. So
yeah.
Yeah, well, Brad, if I left without asking you this, I'd have an English colleague that would be upset with me.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Berenstain or Berenstain?
Berenstain. It's an A. And when you talk to Mike and when you talk to Stan and Jen before they passed, like They were very clear about that's how it's pronounced. And a lot of people, like growing up, everyone just said Berenstain, Berenstain. And, you know, it's like whether it was, regardless of how it was spelled, like that's how most people pronounce it, like Bernstein or Bernstein. And, but it's Berenstain. And in the old country, it was Barenstein or Stein or whatever. And it was like sort of Americanized, and they didn't want to Americanize it too much or as much as maybe some other people did. So like they're very protective of and proud of the way that they spell their name, even if a lot of people pronounce it wrong. So
I had no idea that this was a controversy.
Yeah.
And my colleague sent it to me, and so then last night I was like, "What is this about?" So I went on YouTube and went down a rabbit hole.
You go down this Mandela effect about how we live in an alternate universe, and it used to be spelled one way, and I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, you know, Brad, I just why I got you here. I want to say I appreciate you. You do a lot for the state. Between your podcast and your work with MMEA, I really appreciate you. You really lead the way in a lot of things for us. We watch you and we watch Farmington bands to see what you're doing. So I appreciate you and everything you're doing, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, and you keep up the good work too. I'm really enjoying all the content you're putting out there. So we also are watching you and very much appreciate it.
All right, and we're gonna have you on Masters of the Musiverse sometime to have a longer conversation about stuff, because I think you and I could probably talk for a really long time if we were left to our own devices, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right.
That'd be great. I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
You bet. Yeah, not a problem. And if you don't, if for some Aaron,
I was waiting for Aaron just to walk by. I was waiting for because you did in that.
I'm nothing but professional.
Oh, here we go. Whatever.
But I was watching the right before the band played Thriller on like the first thing.
She did.
And
you saw that. She did that on purpose, right? I thought it was sort of an accident because it was right at the beginning. I thought maybe she didn't quite realize. Like, she was like, well, I got to get over here. No, and then she told me later, she said, I did that on purpose. I'm like,